By the way, he is part of two of my films. I appreciate him appearing in them. One of the key analysts we have in Fall of the Republic and the Obama Deception. Both of these films break down who the globalists are, how they set up the banking scam, how they're taking over, and what their plan was going to be into this year and the next. So this is kind of a video trends forecast. I hope you'll get them both at Infowars.com and the new film we just released, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. So important. Knowledge is power. And it's also important in these rough times to support the alternative media. That's a separate subject I'm going to bring up with Gerald the next hour. The open calls everywhere to shut down the internet, to censor talk radio, to have government licenses to be a journalist. I mean, the system is in trouble when they openly want to shut down free speech. But Gerald Celente, you were getting into opening the paper up 5, 6, 7, 10, 12, depending on the day. Every day, banks are being shut down by the federal regulators. Please continue.
Yes, the Federal Reserve is effectively bankrupt. And what we're saying is that when there's a terrorist strike, and there will be, we're forecasting one of 9/11 magnitude, this time they're going to close the banks. The last time they closed Wall Street. But, of course, the last time in 2001, we were getting over the dot-com bubble bursting, and the conditions were very bad, but nothing like today. So they were able to lower interest rates back then. Now they're at near zero. I mean, and I know they're talking about negative interest rates, but that's not going to work. So this time, in order to stop the panic, we believe they're going to close the banks. But the point being is that the banks are already in trouble. There is not going to be a recovery. It shows up in the job numbers. And then you have these analysts saying, well, it's a jobless recovery. Yeah, how about being almost pregnant, as I say? There's no such thing. You have to create jobs with 72% consumer-oriented society. No jobs, no consumption. And then what we're looking at, as I said, as when they can no longer hide the failures, they take us to war. And the war looks like it's going to be, at this point, with Iran. And when it does happen, we don't believe the reasons they give us will be real. It'll be a false flag, as it was with weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda, the Gulf of Tonkin, and others.
But in the Gulf of Tonkin in '64, bin Laden was there. That's another question. Why are they getting so arrogant to have the CIA in Spy Talk, in the Washington Post, weekly column, admit they put out fake bin Laden videos? Why is handlebar mustache Geraldo Rivera talking to the Marine Corps colonel, admitting that our government has the troops growing the opium? I mean, before they would at least lie. More and more they're going, yeah, we shipped the opium out. Yeah, we're putting fake videos out. Yeah, we won't tell you where the trillions in bailout money went. I mean, it looks like they've almost shifted tactics to just like hiding it in plain view now.
As I said before, these aren't the brightest people. They're given too much credit. They're losers. Again, everything they touch, they turn to rot, whether it's education, healthcare, wars, environment, you name it, food. So, yeah, they're not the brightest people. And look, the CIA is admitting that they're waging a war with these predator drones in Pakistan. Since when did the CIA get into the war business overtly? And since when is it not against international law to perform extrajudicial killings by killing, quote, suspected terrorists in sovereign countries by sending drones in? So it's their arrogance and also possibly their ignorance.
Well, Gerald Celente, the Trends Research analyst, the founder of Trends Research, is our guest for another 30 minutes. We're going to take your calls, go to Twitter, questions, and a lot more straight ahead when we begin the fourth hour. We talk about this so much. I don't want people to get mental fatigue when we're discussing depression and wars because it's already ongoing. It's going to get worse. Wow, Gerald Celente saying he thinks they're probably going to stage an attack of some type as a false flag to go into Iran. These are the times that try folks' souls. This is real. This is happening. And I catch myself all the time just kind of getting comfortable with the idea of depression, comfortable with the idea of World War III. No, we need to get angry. We need to get upset. We need to get involved and Gerald Celente, I want to take some calls, but when we come back in the next segment, I want to hear your idea for solutions, 9th, 10th Amendment. We know where the globalists are going, but how you see the Tea Party movement unfolding into the wider Second American Revolution, 1776, all over again. So that's coming up with Gerald Celente of Trends Research Journal. But let's go to Chris in Indiana. First question for Gerald Celente. Go ahead, Chris.
Gerald, Alex, thank you for taking my call. Question is, with the oil volcano going on in the Gulf of Mexico right now, I read an article this morning where the PSI coming out of that hole could be 20,000 PSI or greater, and they may not be able to cap it. Can that event, being very catastrophic with the toxins, the fishing industry getting destroyed, the tourism, can that event cause the collapse to happen earlier rather than later in your 6-month prediction?
Probably not. It's a terrible event, but there are much bigger economic issues around it. But the other part of that is that to get the people's mind off that, war will do that.
I agree. They're using the oil as a nice distraction while they're getting their war ready.
And go back to when the oil spill first began, and then we saw that Times Square bomber pop up. And the oil went out of the media. And that's what can happen again. So if there's a terrorist strike or a war, something of that nature, this thing will be flushed out of the news very quickly.
Yeah, they decide, but more and more they're losing control of the media, and we'll talk about their attempt at media censorship later. But look at Haiti, 200,000 plus dead, thousands, I've seen numbers, thousands dying a week, the total collapse of society. You don't hear about Haiti anymore.
No, you don't. And again, this tragedy that's going on in the Gulf, it looks like it's going to continue going on. And the implications are exactly what the caller said, are very far-reaching, whether it's the feed supplies, the fish. It just keeps going on and on.
The fish, the oysters, most of our seafood, oysters and shrimp is coming out of the Gulf. I mean, the tourism, this is going to decimate Florida and Louisiana and Mississippi, and then they show the tidal forces. It's going to go around Florida and up the East Coast. And meanwhile, the feds are so tightly controlling this. Now they're talking about using nuclear weapons to stop it. This is insane.
Yeah. Oh, the other part of the food chain is, the fish meal and all the residue from the fish that are used for, for feeds and for fertilizers. So this thing just keeps going on and on. But again, we believe there's going to be a 9/11 magnitude terrorist strike before this year is over, and that the concept of war will become more and more of a given as we get closer to financial disaster. And again, just turn on the news, look what's going on with the world equity markets, regardless of all this baloney you're hearing about being a good buying opportunity, and profit margins are still very high. The collapse is coming.
Well said. We're going to come back and go to Pete in Calgary, Alberta, Mark in Oregon, Mark in California, Greg in Kansas, and others. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. We only got about 45 seconds, but what about media censorship, Gerald? We're really seeing them start to hype that the American way is to shut down free speech.
Well, we heard President Obama say that in so many words when he warned about all these other voices out there that you have to be careful about because you're getting them over the internet and not from the mainstream media as though they're the ones that you should believe.
Absolutely. Stay there. Let's finish up talking about the attempt at media censorship that's being promoted right now, and then we'll go to your calls and a lot more. But Gerald Celente, 9/11 magnitude attack sometime in the next 6 to 7 months. We'll be right back. Stay with us.